Hello everyone, and welcome back to another album review. And in this video, I'm going to review Everyone at the End of Time, Stage 6 by The Caretaker. As it seems, this is the final installment of the 6-part series Everyone at the End of Time, a series of albums by The Caretaker which saw himself getting progressively longer and longer albums. And this one goes into pretty much the same style, approach, and direction with the previous two stages, 5 and 4, having 4 tracks going for about 21 minutes in stage 6 in particular. So we're talking about big songs that usually go into a drony side of things. They have an ambient aesthetic to it, mostly dark ambient, and they're usually portraying a melancholic atmosphere. So what's The Caretaker's music all about? Well, to my surprise, The Caretaker has a unique and really special approach on music. The point where a lot of things started was with his critically acclaimed album An Empty Bliss Beyond This World. I've seen tons of people talk about this album, recommend it, and all that stuff. And I had no idea what this album was going to be about, and given some of the genre tags, I saw this to be my cup of tea, and I'm surprised that I didn't give this a shot even earlier, because I've seen a lot of people talk about this album, saying how much of an amazing album it is, and I just recently got into it. And this is an interesting album. It's about turntable music used in a way where it would portray a sort of sad, moody feel, kind of dark at places, and I really like the concept behind this album. Every single song about this album is just samples of really old ballroom jazz records used in a way where the sounds might get manipulated, get looped, and having multiple effects. And he also tries to bring the appeal of old school records like this, letting all the crackles and pops play throughout the recordings, which having some effects, especially reverb to them, just add to the atmosphere. And the whole idea behind the purpose of the album, going about the studies regarding people suffering with Alzheimer, trying to just bring memories to people with old school music that might be part of their past when they were younger. It's definitely a really nice concept, and for the most part it's well executed, and it really gives a kind of dark and melancholic atmosphere that in a weird sense it fits for lots of the samples put throughout this album. So in a sense I can see the appeal of it and why it's really that much critically acclaimed and why so many people love this album and recommend the several of it. However, giving it the shot, there was nothing more than this. I mean, you don't really expect anything else than what you get, but I don't really find the whole way he just uses the samples, looping them, manipulating them to just provide something that more amazing compared to what the records themselves would probably sound like. Even if there's a bit added atmosphere and a bit of just edits, it's not enough for me to just take it and appreciate it as a secondary release, which The Caretaker just put into a whole new level just because he put some samples in a way that it would provide that much of a unique album and that much of a unique experience. But the album still had lots of things for me to appreciate. But then after that, the main question is how he's going to drag this sound in his later releases. And my main issue with The Caretaker's music is that I think he doesn't go this to an extent to just provide a better listening experience than the one we just took with An Empty Bliss Beyond This World. And so for me, the Everywhere at the End of Time series just gives the question to me for how much are you going to sit through and listen to just the same thing playing over and over again? Because the ideas behind the albums are the same. You just have your ballroom jazz samples, you just have this moody aesthetic behind them, you just have your pops, your crackles. Are you able to sit through this entire thing for any longer? Because I think it's good for once or twice, but can it keep itself for 6 releases? And if these 6 releases were not enough, there is also the album Everywhere and Empty Bliss, which is free to download on Bandcamp on a limited period of time, just providing some extra material as a celebration from the end of the Everywhere and the End of Time series. So for me, the Caretaker at the last installment, not only does he not provide something different or something unique, but we just take the same idea, we just take the same pattern, but I think that the releases get progressively worse. You can take this with pretty much anything. Let's just say that your favorite food is pizza, okay? You love eating pizza, it's an amazing food, but would you be fine for the rest of your life, for every single day, to just eat pizza? Trust me, after a while, you're going to get bored of it, no matter how much you love pizza. Same happens with the Caretaker. It's the same thing over and over again. And even though he tries to present something a bit different, it's still not enough. You still take the same feel, and after a while you just don't want more from it. That is at least what I take from his releases, and considering I'm not that much of a huge fan from some of his previous releases in the first place, this doesn't make things even better. For me, this album is painfully boring. Painfully boring. And given that it goes for 85 minutes, it's a struggle to sit through this entire thing. This album goes to a more drawn and noisy approach. Even though its main factor it's still the samples, I feel like he tries to give a bit of a less presentation to them. It feels like he just drags them, making them sound more low-pitched, giving more of a dark ambient atmosphere, and you still have the sound of pops and crackles in between all those segments to just give you this vintage feel of listening to a vinyl. Even though you can have some change-ups in between the songs and have some segments that sound more intriguing and different than others, it's not to the extent where the songs are going to progress for something further than what the main idea is. We're just talking about 4 songs that go for a monotone, minimal, continuous pace. And you know, if you're a fan of drone and ambient music, you can definitely find something appealing to it. But in my opinion, I think I've heard so many other albums that can make this thing way better without even needing to have that much of a focus of sampling old jazz music, whether that has to do with taking the sound as it is or to just stretch it and lower the pitch so that it feels less that you're taking the same idea over and over. But like I said, it still ain't enough. And the issue is that I don't think there is anything that much to comment about these 4 songs in particular. Like, there's not something particular that I think I need to mention for each single individual track, because all 4 tracks have the same kind of formula, go to the same kind of thing. There's not something really exciting about the structure, and as the album progresses, it just gets drastically worse and less memorable. This album was boring to the point where it doesn't let me any room to just find something remotely special to talk about. It leaves me with no comments. It's a forgettable album, and it's kind of a shame because we're talking about an obscure album, and I see myself that over the years I'm more into obscure stuff. Not that it means that I highly disregard anything that has to do with like pop, hip hop, or just mainstream music in general, but it's just that I think it's easier for me to find a bad album in the mainstream rather than in the obscure genre. But there are experimental and obscure albums that do underwhelm me and end up being a disappointment. And considering that I do like and appreciate the whole idea behind the album, especially with some of his previous stuff, it's sad to say that this was a big disappointment. And it's also an album that I've seen taking so many positive reviews. Call me pleb if you think that this is one of the most important albums of our generation, but I can easily find tons of experimental, dark ambient and obscure albums that are far better than this. This album is just boring, and I think I can only put this in the category of experimental music starter pack. I'm going to give this album a 4 out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it? Dislike it? Why? And what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.